Hey, welcome back to Reddit Cheating Wife, the best channel for cheating stories. Like and subscribe to the channel for cheating stories like this.
My wife, 32 female, of 4-year cheated on me with her coworker. I, 39 male, forgave her but I don't feel normal. My wife and I met while we were in our early 20s. She was in college, and I was in graduate school. In college, I had 2 unsuccessful relationships that lasted less than a month and realized that it was not for me. My family life was chaotic, and I'd never seen a happy relationship in my life. I slept a lot, drank a lot, and hung around with the wrong crew. When we initially met, I assumed it was simply a passing fling. We apparently misread one another, and she assumed we were in a serious relationship. I confessed to sleeping around and generally cheating on her in the beginning. However, she was the first person to ever actually love me, and all the phony I love yous quickly became genuine. My kid was always incredibly kind and naive, believing the best in everyone. We grew serious quickly, but it all came crashing down when she found out about my body count at the start of our relationship. When we reunited again after 6 years, we split up and got back together. We'd obviously matured and had a lot of relearning to do, but in my perspective, it just strengthened our love for one another. After 2 more years of dating, I proposed, and we married around 4 years ago. We also have a 3-year-old daughter. Our marriage has been wonderful. A stark contrast to everything I'd ever seen as a child. We seldom have large disagreements, in fact, I can't recall any. We make fun of each other but don't go too far, and we simply enjoy being together on dull days doing our job. We each have an equal share of home tasks. I honestly don't see anything wrong with it. We've even discussed having another kid and fostering pets. My wife had gone to work to settle out some issues. They had to do it in person since their employer was sending people in batches to keep things safe, and one of her male coworkers was assigned to come on that day as well. Her colleague is now unmarried, and I assume he's had affections for my wife for quite some time. According to what she told me, they were simply catching up and happy to see one another in person after such a long time. They had been conversing for quite some time and were absolutely alone. When my wife leaned in to hug him farewell, he kissed her and she kissed him back. She allowed him to slip his hands beneath her blouse and grip her. Her jacket, blouse, and bra came off, but she couldn't go any farther when he attempted to take her and his trousers off. This is when she apologized and walked away. My wife came home in tears and quickly told me the incident. She started apologizing and said it wasn't anything I did, and she stated she's pleased with me and would never talk to her colleague again. She wants to change departments. I was disturbed by this, but I still held her in my arms as she sobbed into my arms. For some reason, I felt compelled to console her rather than be upset myself. When I questioned her why she did what she did, she said she was probably going insane from the lack of human interaction caused by COVID, and that it simply occurred so suddenly and out of nowhere. She informed me she had no emotions for the man and finds him unattractive. The problem is that I trust her. I'm angry with how far things went, and I think she cheated. But I'm also pleased she didn't have with him. I've mostly forgiven her, but she still behaves a little shy around me and continues to do useless things for me because she's still feeling bad. When I told a buddy about it, he thought I was an idiot for forgiving her so quickly. He said that he had previously had someone cheat on him and that my wife is most likely having an affair with a colleague or has just finished things. Long-term relationship with him and is informing me out of remorse he is certain she slept with one of her coworkers. After reading cheating advice articles, I realized that my reaction wasn't typical and that I'm definitely missing something. I don't want to be wounded, yet I adore my wife and would never leave her. I adore the family we've created, and I know I couldn't do it with anybody else. Was my reaction normal? Should I begin snooping? Story 2. What was once a beautiful love story turned into horror. Wife cheated and destroyed my life. In 2016, I relocated to another nation to marry the love of my life. I gave up everything, friends, family, and my job. I was willing to start all over again for her. And everything was flawless from the start. We began experiencing issues almost precisely a year ago. I was still unable to work or drive due to immigration procedures, and I was quite lonely. My wife became weary of me and began to hang out with a buddy who didn't like me, and I wasn't permitted to accompany her. My wife would often refuse to return home to sleep. And in the midst of it all, I discovered she was having an affair with a coworker. Her companion was aware of it and urged her to pursue it. I informed her family that I couldn't handle it any longer and that I was leaving. My wife then attempted suicide. I intervened, she apologized, vowed to reform, and I remained. But it wouldn't be for long. She put on a brave front for a while, but I subsequently discovered that she was texting her friend and boyfriend at the same time, stating she hoped I would just go. Her family refused to talk to her after discovering she had cheated, but I persuaded them to accept her back. I discovered she was still cheating a few months later. I wanted to leave her, but I couldn't since it had been a year and I had turned down a job offer after graduating from college. I had relatives and friends, but no inheritance. I'd returned to live with my folks. So I approached her family for assistance and decided to join the military to give myself a chance to live without her. My wife, on the other hand, came home distraught and persuaded me to give her another opportunity. That's exactly what I did. I'm not proud of it, but I love her a lot. I didn't want to be without her. I persuaded her family to accept her back once again. And then I began working. I worked 2 jobs, made more money than my wife, and assumed everything would be okay. I was also accepted into 2 graduate programs, and I was so excited that I believed she'd be pleased. Because she said she strayed since she didn't feel she had a spouse because I couldn't work and provide for her. But then she changed. She began to belittle my occupations, claiming that I wouldn't be able to get a job with prestige anytime soon, which disturbed her. Then one night, after working all day, I arrived home and my wife did not. She went out for the night without informing me. She had cheated again. And this time she was able to persuade her family that she was not cheating and that I was abusing her, a lie. As a result, everyone turned their backs on me, leaving me alone in a foreign nation. I was still living with my wife, but she seldom came home, and her relatives told me that I should simply let her do it since she wasn't cheating and I was crazy. I was afraid that returning to my home country would destroy my life, so I began working harder and earning more money. But my wife wasn't satisfied with just straying, she wanted me gone, so she blackmailed me, threatening to have me deported. She came home with a strange man one night and nearly got me into a fight, so I realized I had no option but to leave. That's exactly what I did. She wouldn't let me go until I booked my trip, but at the last minute she changed her mind and urged me to remain. It was my 3rd time quitting both jobs, and I was afraid, so I left. And I returned to my own nation to find nothing. There is no work, there is no revenue. I live with my parents. My wife kept promising to mend things and move in with me. I told her I'd give her a chance and began making plans to have her here. She abruptly gave up and asked me to return. I also said okay, but had to reschedule all of my plans. Finally, after I had done all I could to go back, she informed me she wanted a divorce when it was her chance to act. She accused me of abandoning her, despite the fact that I made every effort to remain. She said I was possessive because I didn't want her to hang out with the man with whom she cheated on me and his buddies. And I discovered significant proof that she is still cheating on her previous lover, a man she accused of abusing her and raping her. Now, here's my predicament: I'm stranded in my home nation during an economic downturn. I have a decent degree, but I haven't studied in 2 years since I had to leave everything to marry. I have a green card, but it belongs to my wife, and I'm not sure I can use it. After all of this, I acquired anxiety and sadness. I'm heartbroken because I adore that lady. I used to have decent employment and had been admitted to 2 graduate programs, but now I have nothing. She ruined my life. I didn't do anything wrong, and yet I'm the one who has to pay for everything. My wife retained our dogs, despite the fact that she hardly cares for them, and I miss them terribly. Please accept my apologies for the lengthy article. I needed to express myself. For a long time, I kept everything to myself in the hopes that she would change. But I'm at a breaking point. I originally submitted this on another subreddit, but was told to publish it here instead.